started.
Capipi from Argentina. No, Brazil. Okay. Let's try d5. Yeah. This is one of those lines where it wouldn't have mattered what I played, because whether I start with knight f6 or d5, white can still play those two moves. So that's the London system from white. And I'm trying this line where I play an early c5, and then as long as I have the check, I won't bother to defend that pawn and just keep developing. And now then he plays there, then I'll defend the pawn, because the check, I don't have the check anymore. And I'm just going to put my bishop on b7, looking out at this diagonal. Sometimes the knight can come up here to come up here to e4, supported by this bishop on the diagonal. And then he has not moved his h-pawn, so I guess he intends to trade the bishops here. Okay, I will trade the bishop then. And yeah, that's interesting. Can he get an attack on the h-file? Hard to believe, but I need to castle here, and then I'm going to push the e-pawn forward. I mean, the thing why it's hard to believe he can get an attack on the h-file is that his king is in the way, and his king can't get out of the way with these pawns. So I can't play e5 immediately. I have to prepare it with the rook, and then he's probably going to play e5 himself. But still, I need to prepare. I mean, he's going to play e4. He doesn't. Okay, he goes for the pin on the knight. So yeah, let's kick that bishop. I don't see any reason to put up with that pin, and that does stop me from playing. It did stop me from playing e5. Okay, so he gets his knight in there. But I think I can chase the knight away, and I can also play e4. So knight e4, pawn, knight takes, pawn takes, supported by the bishop here. Seems playable. And he can't even take the knight now. And then I can play pawn to f6, chasing that knight away. So at this point I'm glad I never played h6. That's why I was kind of holding off. I was tempted at various times to play h6. But if you can hold off on that, then in this position you can play f6. And his knight has nowhere to go but back. Back knight. And now I can start looking at things. What can I take advantage of here in this position? I guess, I mean, where is his knight going? Is he thinking of going to g4? I thought knight f3 was pretty standard. Maybe he's wondering if he can take my knight first and then retreat his knight. But that won't change things much. Okay, I guess I want a rook on the c file. Oh, he went there. And if I push on with c4, where does the knight go then? It can come out to b4. It's not doing a whole lot there. It can go back. Or it can go to, yeah, maybe his idea is to go knight f4. I'm looking at this pawn. Let's see. This pawn is defended. But if he takes my knight and then takes this pawn, he can win a pawn. So let's defend this c pawn. Actually, that was nonsense. That calculation was nonsense, because when I take back, he's got to move the knight first. He doesn't have time to take this pawn. So, well, rook c8. I mean, it's not a bad move anyway, but it was not necessary. So he thinks he can take a pawn, huh? I guess I would rather have the piece than the pawn. And then here, he gets a couple pawns. 2 pawns for his piece. And let's see, so I have a couple ideas here. One is queen c6, threatening checkmate on this diagonal. And the other is rook to d8, hitting his queen. Let's play rook d8 first. I don't want to take the b pawn. The rook here would actually win the bishop. So definitely that's out. And the problem with queen c6 is that he just is going to play f3, and that will block it. Yeah, but maybe I can start pushing my pawns forward to undermine things over here. Like say I start off with f5. If I had f5, g5, g4, and then queen to c6 might be a threat. And I don't think he can really contest my control of the d file, because any exchanges are going to favor me. So like rook there, I would take, he brings his rook over, I can bring my rook to d8 supported by the queen, so I think that's good. So I am pushing these pawns forward, creates weaknesses around my king. Hopefully the advantages of cramping his king position and preventing some defenses here will be outweighing the disadvantages. Okay, so now I'm set up to play queen to c6. It's interesting how this line of pawns is working with the bishop to control this diagonal. And even if he figures out how to defend against this, I have the idea of pushing the h-pawn forward and bringing a rook over to the h-file. Yeah, so he just goes for the trade. I can take first, or I can ignore that and go ahead and play queen c6 right now and let him take. If I let him take, then I get a rook on the d file. Whereas if I take first, he gets a rook on the d file. So now there's a mate threat. And I don't see any move other than f3. King, he could try king to f8, and king f1, queen takes g2, king runs to e2, and then bishop here check. That's a mate. So yeah, there's no other move other than f3, or that one. Okay, I've got to block the diagonal. So if I take his rook now, how will he take? I could just take the pawn. Rook takes, queen takes. He is still good for me. And I can just push this pawn forward, and once again he'll have to play something like f3 to defend. Okay, he drops back with the queen, so what does this mean? It means he can come in here with check. Okay, so let's trade rooks first. The queen here check was actually looking at the rook on d8, so it was a bit of a threat. Now the queen is looking directly at this pawn. Let's defend it. This is hard to say. I could also push the this pawn forward and threaten mate again, but when I do that, yeah, it's not not as good, because he takes here with check, and then he can defend with f3. Let's see, I can't even get a check on that diagonal. Okay, So we'll try defending this pawn. Oh, okay, so he blocks with his rook. So what do I want to do? I want to oppose his queen in some way. Maybe, yeah, so this diagonal is blocked down, shut down for the moment. Drop my queen back. To cover the d8 square, maybe I could play rook d8. Maybe I could lift my rook up and bring it over to the king side. A couple of ideas there. See what he does now. For example, rook e7. Okay, so now he's trying to come in with the queen. Come into f6. Anyway, yeah, I'm lifting my rook up. What I was thinking was rook to h7, then I push the h-pawn forward, and if he takes, I can take and come in over here. So this is, let's see, the queen there, where's the checks? The checks are here and on that diagonal. Let's go for some defense here. That pawn. Yeah, I think I will give up that pawn, but I want to make sure I don't get in a perpetual check. So like if I played rook to g7, and he takes the pawn with check, and I play queen f7, then he has the check. He has no checks at that point. But let's go ahead and play that. And he has no checks here other than taking the pawn. And queen to f7 guards this square, and the bishop guards that square.
Check.
So I think there's no checks here. Queen here, the queen guards, and queen here, the bishop guards. And all my pieces are protected. And I will take his queen if I get the chance. I will trade it off. So he's got to search for something here. I could also maybe break through on f2 here. Maybe rook up and over. Yeah, everything's guarded at the moment. My queen's guarding this pawn on h5. That's one of the loose pawns. The bishop's guarding this pawn and this pawn. I can always sacrifice the exchange here and then try and go for some kind of perpetual, and hope that my airy king position gives him some hope for some kind of perpetual, I guess. There, so that's hitting the, okay, it's threatening check here, and it's looking at this pawn. So I want to move my king where there's no checks. I think he has no check here. And see what he does now. I really want to lift up my rook, like I said, but that would leave the h-pawn hanging, and I want to give him any more pawns, give him hope. I mean, he still has 2 pawns for the bishop. And I'll try and find a way to organize this. Maybe queen, first queen to g6. That defends the pawn. And the rook is still defending the bishop, so that holds on to everything. Then I could get in rook to f7. And then maybe queen to f5 here. And that's a way to double on the f-file without exposing my king to checks. So queen g6, rook f7, queen f5. Okay, and he's starting to use up more time, so maybe he will just run out of time thinking. We'll see. Yeah, in the absence of a plan, he could just push these pawns. My plan that I outlined there is kind of slow. 1, 2, 3 steps to get to a position where I'm actually threatening something. And in 1, 2, 3 steps, he could be nearly queening. But he has to pass through this square where I would take it. So it's not that simple. Okay, down to half a minute. What else is going on here? Yeah, I don't see anything else that's going on. I mean, his only hope is to push these pawns, and it seems like it's too slow to me. Okay, so he forfeited on time. Let's make sure I'm still connected. Yeah, I'm connected. Okay. Oh, finally it decided to give me the win. Okay, so anyway, I'll upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.